Injury to one is injury to all was spotlighted on the University of Washington by these Milo Yiannopoulos protesters as they chanted,
"Make America great again! Turn the Nazis, kill the Klan! Make America great again! Turn the Nazis, kill the Klan!"
On the night of Donald Trump's inauguration, fellow YouTuber Prince of Queens and I decided that we were going to try to get in to see Milo Yiannopoulos speaking at the University of Washington. I want to first start by saying thank you to the University of Washington for not canceling his scheduled lecture. In order to give a little bit of context to the controversy around him, he was invited to speak at the University of Washington by Jessica Gamble, who is the president of the University of Washington College Republicans. And shortly after, there began to appear flyers and notices that were put up around the college campus that had her name on them and her address, her father's name and address, and their email contact information. And these flyers basically were calling her a racist amongst the students and inviting other people, students that may be reading the flyer, to contact her and or her father and let them know what they thought. Even prior to Milo arriving, there was already this sort of doxing behavior that was going on coming from the left. The news did cover this event pretty well, and so I just want to give a little bit of context to the scale of this protest. In tandem with Milo's invitation to the University of Washington, there was a petition that was started on change.org in order to request that the university disallow him from coming to speak. This petition received 4,626 signatures out of a necessary 5,000, and that means it didn't make its 5,000 signature goal. And not only that, change.org also allows anybody to sign a petition regardless of where they're from. So we don't even necessarily know that these 4,600 signatures are all university students at all. 4,626 signatures out of a total campus population of 45,870. So roughly 10% of the university's population had an objection to Milo being there, which means, of course, for any of you that can do math, that 90% of the people on campus didn't find this topic so adverse or objectionable that they felt like they had to put their name to stop him from being there. So it was a relatively small segment of the university's populace that was coming forward to protest against Milo. All that said, I wandered into the crowds at Kane Hall and started talking to people.
Are you guys the general admissions line?
The student line.
That's general admissions.
General admissions consisted of students and non-students who had not prepaid for tickets. And as you can see, it wrapped all the way around the Red Square courtyard. And this is going back behind Kane Hall, where the line just kept going. It was easily 3 times longer than the crowd of protesters that were out here. And even from this view right here, we are still looking at general admissions people. The protesters are on the other side where that flag is waving. One of the things that the news footage that I saw did was it avoided distinguishing to the audience between who was who in this crowd. Right now, I'm standing literally in the middle of the quote-unquote peaceful protesters. As you see that guy wearing the bandana around his face, many of these protesters were wearing bandanas, hoodies. They had their entire heads wrapped up like ninjas. These guys were supposed to be the peaceful organizers of this event. Now, keep in mind what you saw right there, because that was an anti-Milo protester headlocking a non-protester in non-violent protest. This guy here on the left is a non-protester, and as you can see, he was pelted in the head with a blue paint packet from the side of the anti-Milo protesters.
Are you friends with him?
No, I don't know.
No. Do you know what's in his hair?
Yeah, paint that these guys threw on him.
Why did they do that?
Good question. See, shit like that. She was asking why he got paint on him. I said it's because of this group. They threw it on him.
What's the purpose of throwing paint on people?
Oh, I don't know.
What?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. What's your guess?
I don't know. I don't know why people would do that.
You gotta hand it to this guy. He just got paint thrown all over him, which probably ruined all of his clothes, and he has not lost his temper and is still maintaining a rational discussion with this girl in front of him. Props to this guy, because that's how it should be done. Around this time, the protesters started chanting, "UW, shut it down, run these racists out of town," and the skateboard you're about to see here was being put in front of my camera by the original guy there in the orange bandana.
Please stop touching me.
There's no.
Thank you.
You shouldn't be recording us.
You're in a public square.
You shouldn't be doing this.
You're in a public square.
Who do you work for?
What are you worried about?
I'm worried about getting all of our comrades getting doxxed by fucking faux liberals who want to help.
Isn't that why they're covered up, to prevent that?
Exactly.
Well, then I don't think there should be anything to worry about.
This exchange astonished me. I mean, here is this guy, and he's covered head to toe so that he can't be identified, pushing me physically back with his skateboard because he's afraid that those people who are there to see Milo are going to out him or in some way aggress him. This is coming from the same segment of people who doxed their own president of the University of Washington College Republicans, calling her a racist with neo-Nazi ties. Those are the people that are afraid of being doxed. And at a public protest. I mean, maybe I'm confused about the nature of public protesting, but isn't that exactly the point? To be seen and heard in public. I continued to mill around in the middle of the protesters, and that's who all of these black-clad people are. These are all anti-Milo protesters, and they're the ones who organized this event. As you can see, they've got these huge boards up, and they were using those boards kind of as a barricade to push people back and to prevent the people from going in and seeing the lecture. I was actually interested in hearing what the protesters had to say. So for a good portion of this milling around, I had turned my camera off so that they would actually talk to me because they were pretty camera shy and didn't want to be filmed. This woman here was very fascinating because I bumped into her early on in the protest there with the peace sign, and she said that she had come to protest Milo, but when she saw that the protesters were throwing bricks and bottles, she felt like she could no longer be a part of their movement. She stayed in the middle and advocated for peace on both sides. And then I had this fun with some of the protesters.
Excuse me, don't touch me. Thank you. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Fucking touch you?
No, this person is though, and I'm asking nicely that you don't. Thank you.
It was basically right around here that the protesters and non-protesters got into a scuffle with one another. There was pushing back and forth, and I happened to get caught in the middle of that, and I got a lungful of pepper spray from the protester side, and then the medics came out and offered me help because they noticed I was hacking up a lung, and it all calmed down though after a little while, and I did all right. I stayed for the rest of the night. Overall, this was a really surreal experience. It's one thing to read about these on various blogs and news sites or to watch videos about it, and it's another to really experience the phenomena for yourself. So all this screaming basically hailed the arrival of Antifa, which is an anti-fascist anarchist organization. And as you can see, they basically doubled the size of this protest that was already going in Red Square. And it was after their arrival that the shooting, which made the news, took place way in the back of the crowd. Right around there, you see, in that back building. During a lot of my offline conversations where I had turned my camera off to talk to protesters, I heard some really radical things. One guy said to me, "Fuck free speech. I don't even believe in free speech. It's an abstract concept that doesn't even really exist." And all I could think to myself was, isn't free speech exactly what is allowing this guy to be here right now protesting this thing that he doesn't like? I mean, I wished at that moment I had like a magical mute button on a remote control that I could just silence his voice right then and there so that he couldn't even say those words, so that he couldn't even say fuck free speech. And then see, how does he feel now about free speech?
Recently turned my back on the left for being fucks. So it was just this, like, if you disagree, then you're evil. If you disagree, then it's, whatever name that they're going to call you, and they then justify their violence against you for that. That's fucked. So yeah, I'm going to be here.
There was another girl who was standing at the top of the line of the protesters up by the police, screaming. I mean, just screaming at a guy next to me. "I am not a fucking pacifist. I do not believe in pacifism. I believe in violence. I think violence should be done against people like the guy inside of that building, against people like Donald Trump. I support it." I mean, she truly was supposed to be on the side of the inclusive diversity crowd as she was screaming for active violence to be done against people giving a talk. I was so shocked by seeing this. And when you tried to talk to these protesters, they didn't want to talk. They didn't want to answer your questions. They didn't want to say anything to you. They just wanted to be there and shout all of these pre-arranged little sound bites that they had, kill the Nazis, kill the Klan, make America great again.
So what's your message to the Trump supporters, let's say, or the people that came to see Milo? What would be your message?
You are not welcome here.
In Seattle or just anywhere?
In the United States, as far as I'm concerned.
I did have the good fortune to bump into the gentleman you just saw there and his cameraman, Mark Hidden, who is another YouTuber, and I will put a link to his channel in the low bar. You guys can actually check out. He has hours of footage from this event, and you can take a look at that if it interests you. Here are some of the questions that they asked me at the time, though, and my thoughts.
From your perspective?
Well, I was hoping to get in actually on the general admission to see this guy, like the man of controversy. Hello, I was hoping to get in on it, but that was way out of the question by the time I got here. So
when did you get here?
I got here just before 7 o'clock, and like by then the line was all the way over there.
Don't worry, we got here at 5 o'clock. We still
So I basically stuck around to kind of see what would happen, and I actually wanted to talk to protesters and people that were here to see Milo, and just I just wanted to hear. Basically, it's troublesome to me that there would be a stop even against like the worst speech, the most hateful things that you could imagine, because surely they already know, right? I mean, everybody's here protesting this guy. Everybody knows that he does say some pretty hateful and very controversial things, right?
Absolutely.
Well, obviously the protesters have heard it and they didn't adopt it. So why then would they think that it is acceptable to stop other people from hearing that? Do they just like classify themselves as differently than every other person around them? Like only they have the ability to hear things and not adopt it?
I'm told there was about 100 people that got in, plus some VIPs. There was probably a good 800 or 900 more, because a lot of people took the punt to say they could get in. Say 1,000. What would the message be for those folks who couldn't get in your judgment? What would be the message? Because they obviously couldn't get in because of the protests, right?
From the protests?
They couldn't get in because of the protests.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think think that it's...
Is there a message for them?
Well, I think that there may be a message that protesters are trying to send, but I don't think that that is the message that's being received. When they are stopped from doing that, it sort of has the counterintuitive effect of making the protesters into the thing that they are protesting.
That's actually one of Milo's strengths. That's what he's trying to do in the long run. Is he's showcasing
I think all of this is going to work to Milo's advantage.
Absolutely.
In closing, I do take my First Amendment rights very seriously, not just the freedom of speech, but also my right to be able to hear the other things that other people are saying and to not be prevented from exposing my own self to other points of view. And in an effort to not just make this video, to do something productive with it, I am going to put a draft of a letter that I'm sending to the president of the University of Washington, and I would encourage or invite all of you to go to my blog, and if you want to, you can copy paste this letter and then edit it to have your own tone and feel to it. I will put up her email address and also some of her assisting staff so that it can be CC'd in for the sake of redundancy, to basically thank her for not having canceled this and for allowing other alternate viewpoints on campus, to encourage the idea that if students don't like it, the appropriate response is to invite speakers that have a contrary viewpoint to people like Milo, and to go ahead and protest and use that time to get people to sign petitions or make them aware of social issues and organizations that they can join, grow their email list, but not to stop everybody else from hearing something. So I hope you guys will join me, and I will put all of that information both on my blog and here in the low bar. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and the shares, and let me know what you think. I always encourage discussion, and I don't always encourage, flame warring each other, but I can't really stop you from doing that. But I would ask that, we all try to keep it civil, because as one of the non-protesters said at the protest, we have to be better than that. So I hope to hear from you all, and I'll see you on the flip side.